Interstate 490. Yeah. All right, we are going to Rochester, New York, which is a Bills town, from what I understand, as the Chiefs will be playing the Bills in the AFC Championship game. Kind of run out of roads to do in Buffalo. US 62 is a little too much to bite off for a couple days of preparation for this video. I've never been to Rochester, but I hear it's a lovely town, and everybody I know who's been there says it's great. Let's take a look at the route. We see 490 leaves the New York State Thruway, I-90, near Leroy, New York, and heads into Rochester, and then snakes its way back to I-90. We're going to start by talking about 490 eastbound. We pass through this toll apparatus on the New York State Thruway right before we get to the interchange. There no longer is a toll setup once you get onto 490. You actually hit them on either side before getting to the 490 interchange. And here is our sign for our exit, 490 and New York Highway 19 for Leroy and Rochester. I gotta say, you know I'm gonna say it, but on these legacy East Coast toll roads, I am no fan of just having a beside the road sign for major junctions like this. This should absolutely be an overhead sign. They make enough money on the thruway, you'd think they could do it. We were on eastbound I-90 coming onto 490, and westbound 490 has the same kind of sign, so I didn't show both. Here is where these two lanes merge together to form the beginning of 490. You're watching Control City Freak. This is the YouTube channel where we talk about highways and the places that they're signed to go to. If you dig this kind of content, why not give us a like? And if you really like it, why not subscribe? Yeah, subscribe. So we were signed for Leroy and Rochester and New York State Highway 19, and we get that exit immediately, exit 1. This exit was requested by Andrew DeVore because his dad used to make videos where he played a self-made redneck character named Leroy. So shout out to the Leroy name, and thank you for that request. Andrew made that request on the Patreon, and you can too if you are a Patreon member with a paid subscription. Make requests for monthly videos, and also join the community and vote on stuff and other stuff like that. It's pretty cool. You can also make exit requests the old-fashioned way with a $5 super thanks on any episode through the comments, and I appreciate everybody who does both of those things. You guys are the best. At our first interchange, we are getting Rochester 20 miles away, and Thruway is signed in the other direction, so that's how they're signing it at exits to start. And a little ways down the road, we get Rochester 18. Usually I don't like these single city signs, but signing Rochester by itself is the way. You're not getting on this road unless you're going to Rochester or one of its suburbs. There's no reason to sign anything further on the Thruway, or you would have stayed on the Thruway. This is a few miles down the road, and we are getting exit 2, New York 33 and 33A for Bergen, and oh no, we are getting ordinal number exits. You know, I'm never a fan. Exit 3 is for New York Highway 36, and it is for Churchville. This was requested also by Andrew DeVore because he is a Christian, so he finds the Churchville name cool. So thank you for that request. Our next exit, New York State Highway 259 for North Chili and West Chili.
Sucking on Chili down.
Right. Cool, I like chili. But why bother with those when our next exit for New York Highway 386 is for Chili Center?
Sucking on Chili down.
Sounds like a cool place. New York Highway 204 is signed for the airport. They don't give us the airport name, they just say airport. I feel like giving us the name. It's Frederick Douglass Airport, so I feel like that's a pretty good name to put on the airport, so why not say that? Now we get our first pull-through overhead sign for 490 Rochester. We never got one on 90, so this really is our first one. We have exits for 33 and 531. 33 East sign for Gates Center. Doubt they have any Gates barbecue there, though. And the exit for 531 is kind of a weird one. This is a freeway. You wouldn't really be able to tell by the sign, so let's take a look at the interchange. So from the overhead, this interchange with New York Highway 33 looks like a standard cloverleaf, but then you've got some extra elements to also throw in this Y interchange with the 531 freeway. So that's pretty interesting design there. And we are meeting another New York X90. I believe there are all of them in New York State. We are getting 390 South for Airport, same airport, I would assume. 390 State Highway North for Greece. Wow, that's a pretty long road. 490 East Rochester, straight ahead. Here's a closer look with the 390 interchange. And right here we cross the Erie Canal From what I understand, the Erie Canal was actually rerouted. It used to go right through Rochester, and in fact, it used to take the route of 490. And then when the Erie Canal was rerouted, they had a train system here, and they actually had a subway in Rochester, which is pretty awesome that there was a subway. But of course, that couldn't last, and there hasn't been a subway in Rochester since the 50s or 60s. We're starting to see the skyline of Rochester coming up ahead as we get to Ames Street and Child Street. Exit 11 was requested by Andrew DeVore because it is in the Dutchtown neighborhood of Rochester. He requested that because as a Red Dead Redemption fan, one of his favorite characters was called Dutch. I liked that game too. I never finished it though. I kept getting sidetracked playing poker, and then if I'd lose in poker, then I'd have to go out in the alley and kill the guys to get my money back, and then the cops would be after me, and that was a mess. Thank you so much for that request. And now we are seeing rail station next left. That must be the Amtrak for Rochester. Exit 12 is Broad Street and the stadiums. Wonder if the Rochester Jeffersons still play there. Although I think that was a basketball team. Rochester used to be a major league town, but hasn't been for a while. 490 East no longer gets a control city. Inner Loop is signed for downtown. And we can see downtown Rochester ahead, and we see Inner Loop is kind of the main line, and 490 East is almost kind of exiting itself here. And here's a look at downtown Rochester after we pass by the Inner Loop interchange. And here's another look at downtown Rochester. It's got a nice looking downtown for sure. We're meeting State Highway 31, and not for the last time, Monroe Avenue, and just, yeah, kind of cool architecture right next to this freeway here. This is the Frederick Douglass and Susan B. Anthony Memorial Bridge, so I would assume that both of them hail from Rochester, although I'm not 100% sure. As we loop toward the bridge, we get another view of downtown Rochester. We are getting to exit 15, South Avenue, which is also New York State Highway 31 and 15. This was requested by TheDerpHog because New York 15 used to be US 15 before it was truncated to Corning in 1974. Thank you so much for that request, and I have noticed a whole lot of New York State highways, but pretty devoid of US highways around here. We get a look at that bridge, and this is what it looks like coming from that interchange. We see South Avenue and 490 East, and still no control city on 490 East. We continue through Rochester, and we get exits 17 and 18 for Goodman Street and Monroe Avenue. And here we are going to be meeting 590, and 590 doesn't give us any control cities or much fanfare at all. It just cuts over to 390. 490 East, still no control cities. We're meeting New York State Route 441, Linden Avenue for Penfield. Exit 23. This was requested by Lucifer Cardozo, so thank you so much for that request. And we are out of Rochester now. We are getting a sign for East Rochester. We get no street name or highway name, probably street name. 31F for Fairport is coming up soon. We get a mileage sign, Thruway 8 miles ahead, Victor 11 miles ahead. I don't really much care for that. That's not good signage. Thruway 8 is useful, but I think we ought to have something a little bit beyond 490 that people would know. And we are crossing the Erie Canal once again. We reach exit 27, which is the first of several exits we have for State Highway 96, because we parallel that for a little bit. This is for Bushnell's Basin, which is an interesting name for a town. Exit 28, one exit down the road, is also for New York State Highway 96. And now we are getting a control city of I-90 Thruway and Victor. So interesting, we don't have 490 on that sign, just the I-90 shield itself. Now we're meeting 96 for a third consecutive exit. It is signed for Victor here, and we are getting 90 East Albany and 90 West Buffalo, and they're indicating it is a toll in either direction. They should have a bigger fanfare about get off at 96 if you don't want to pay a toll, but they do have those toll signs there at least. Right here is where the toll booth used to be, and again we're getting 90 East Albany and 90 West Buffalo. And here's a look at what the toll booth used to look like, although this is from Street View in 2019, so it's been gone a little while, but not too long. Alright, let's talk about westbound I-490. Coming off the Thruway, we are getting the same kind of thing. We get just 490 Rochester, no overhead sign once again, same in both directions. As soon as we get onto 490, we get this tandem lot exit right here, and I think that's a great idea. Obviously, you shouldn't be riding a tandem bicycle on a freeway, so yeah, build a parking lot to, leave that there. We're meeting State Highway 96 for Victor once again, and we also have this little aside kind of sign here for Mall and Fishers. I assume Fishers is some small town in the area. Mall think they'd give us the name of the mall. And here is the actual sign, 496 exit only, and we are on 490 West Rochester. A nice pull through here. Get a mileage sign as we're heading up, and it is Pittsford 3 miles away and Rochester 9. So putting 2 cities on there, better than putting 1, as long as Rochester is the bottom line. At random interchanges, 490 is signed east for Victor and west for Rochester. 490 seems east out of downtown is always either signed for nothing or for Victor. I can't really agree with either of those choices. We're meeting 590 once again, and just like with 390, north of the freeway is State Highway 590, south of it is Interstate 590, which will go to 390. We don't get any control cities for 590 once again, but 590 is not very long and it does just connect to 390. On State Highway 590, our pull through for Interstate 590 also has no control cities, and we're seeing 490 West, downtown Rochester, 490 East, Victor. Approaching downtown, so we are going to see some downtownage right here. We're crossing the Frederick Douglass Susan B. Anthony Bridge in downtown Rochester, and we do get a nice view of the city. And here's another view of Rochester. Yeah, like I said, it does look like quite a nice town. Again, I've never been there, never been anywhere near there, but it does look pretty cool. And I thought this building, this tower, was pretty interesting looking right here, so I took a picture of that as well. Heading over New York Highway 31, that's another route into downtown Rochester right before we get to the inner loop. Just lots of brick buildings. Yeah, pretty nice looking. Here is our westbound exit for the inner loop expressway. This was requested by Boss King Inc. He's always found it to be a weird freeway project, the inner loop. Inner loop used to be a loop all the way around Rochester, and they are getting rid of some of it, turning some of it into a boulevard. And Rochester, it doesn't seem like a city that needs an entire freeway loop around it. Although, to be fair, I don't think any cities really need a tight freeway loop around their downtowns. Rochester, it seems they're trying to do something about it. So I'm on board with that. And thanks for that request. I appreciate that. Coming off the inner loop, we get 490 signed west for Buffalo, so done a little better going this way, and 490 east and inner loop. So apparently the part of 490 going toward the bridge is also considered inner loop. Here's a ramp from the inner loop to 490, and I just thought this was a really cool view of Rochester. Just after passing the inner loop exit, we pass right by here the minor league baseball team for Rochester. This is the home of the Rochester Red Wings, who are a Washington Nationals affiliate. So that's cool. Minor league baseball is awesome. We're meeting 390 once again. 390 again signed for Greece and Airport. 490 signed for Buffalo on an overhead pull-through sign. So that's cool. 390 being here, well, these small little roads here, 390, 590 being proper interstates, that's useful fodder for inevitable future Chiefs-Bills playoff games that I don't have much time to prepare for. On State Route 390, we see South 390. They're not giving us that airport control city here. 490 East Rochester and 490 West Buffalo. Here is 531, that freeway, once again, and this time around we do get control cities for it. 531 West Spencerport and Brockport, 490 West Buffalo. Get a good mileage sign here. We're getting Leroy 16 miles ahead. That's where we're meeting the thruway. And then Buffalo 62, so not too far really. Skipping ahead to the end here, we have New York State Route 19. They do give us a nice last exit before toll sign here, so that's useful. I feel like westbound, they're doing a better job overall westbound. It's like the westbound and the eastbound signage people weren't coordinating. The westbound people had it going. And 90 East Albany and 90 West Buffalo. Here is the actual split at the Trumpet interchange, where you will have your choice between 90 East and West. And that will end Interstate 490, so let's talk about Todd's the way it should be. This is real simple. I'm going to say eastbound it should be Rochester and then Albany, like the thruway, and westbound it should be Rochester and Buffalo, the way that they do. So they do it perfectly westbound. Eastbound, I would change it up. Alright, thank you so much for watching this episode of Control City Freak. I enjoyed this. Rochester seems like a cool town. Hope to visit one day. Next week we are doing Florida 408, the east-west tollway in Orlando for the Pro Bowl. Requests are already closed for that, but 2 weeks from now we are doing the Super Bowl episode with US 61 Southbound, the entirety, as it ends in New Orleans. So requests are still open for that, and hopefully the Chiefs will be involved. My name is Todd, and until next time, keep on trucking.